Hey there, it's Joe the CRM chap here, and we're back with a new video in my series all about Microsoft exam PL-400. This is the developer's exam for those who are looking to validate their skills developing solutions involving or indeed extending out the Power Platform. So this is the final video in where we're going to be taking a look at the Web API, and what I wanted to do was dive in and look specifically at how batch operations can be constructed and worked within the Dataverse, because they are a bit of a sort of an outlier scenario, one that you may come across, and it's worth just talking through and just explaining, okay, how you go about sort of constructing and working with a batch requests. So effectively, batch requests sort of give us the ability of being able to sort of do, what we can potentially do from a SQL Server standpoint in terms of maybe having, a combined set of operations that we can sort of control as part of, let's say, a single atomic transaction. So what I mean by that is we need to ensure that all operations complete successfully together. If any one of the individual operations fail, then we just entirely roll back and just return to a clean slate before anything touches. This helps to avoid a situation where we may have sort of an incomplete records added in the system, which may not then have any sort of follow-on or corresponding records created for them. We can have that control, typical type of control that maybe if we were writing SQL statements, we'd be able to have such begin, end transaction, commit transaction. Those are the type of situations that batch operations can support for us. Let's get started then and just build out a example batch request then using Postman and fire it off into the Dataverse. So I'm just going to create a new request like so. We're going to call this a batch operation sample. This is going to be a post operation. And in this case, we need to specify our Web API URL. And then what we do is, instead of specifying the name of a table or an object that we want to work with, all we do is just append on the end of it is the words $batch, like so. Okay. And then effectively we can now start to build out the body of our request, which we're going to have as a text request like so. So when we're firing off our batch request, we always need to kick off and indicate our sort of batch number that we're sort of working with. And then so we do that by using syntax similar to this on here. So we specify the name of our batch and then also the boundary through which our change set will effectively occur. That needs to be a content type multi-part mixed, and then we need to give the name of our change set like so. Change set is effectively the unique operations that we're sort of performing as part of our request. So next we need to specify the name of the change set again using the double dash like so. We need to give some details regarding the request. So these align to our sort of HTTP type headers. So in this case, we're saying that this is going to be the first change in our change set based on the content ID being 1. And effectively what we want this first change to be is a post request against the URI of the organization. So in this case, we can put in the, I don't think this may not work. Actually, let's try it, Web API URL, like so. And then we specify what we want to do. So in this case, we're just going to create a couple of tasks. And underneath that, we then need to just put in the JSON definition for our particular task. Okay, and in this case, we want to associate it to an existing account in the system. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back up to here. I'm just going to get an ID for random ID for an account that we can use for testing purposes. So this one here will do very nicely. Thank you. Back to here, I'm just going to overwrite that like so. So that's our first request as part of our change set. So now we can specify the next one. And again, we just do this by having change set, a change set underneath it like so with the double dash. And again, we just specify effectively our HTTP headers. The only difference this time being that it's a content ID 2. It's going to be a post request again against our particular tasks table, and in this case we just want to put in a slightly different sort of subject, just differentiate it out, and then in this case just want to change this to our account ID like so, and then effectively terminate the change set by typing something similar to that, and then effectively what I can then do as part of the as a final operation in the batch, I can retrieve back the data that I want. So to do this, I just do something similar to this. Again, specifying the HTTP headers, and I just want to return all of the tasks that have been created as part of the particular request. So I just need to just overwrite some details down here, like so. In this case, we want to have the account ID, and we're just calling the relationship to be able to get just the subject of the task that we've just created. So it's just making sure that what we've actually done is created it. We can also jump into the application as well, just to confirm that that's been completed successfully. So I think that's looking all good. So let's fire that off and see what happens. Okay, so we have an error straight away. So I think we need to specify some additional headers that we're missing. So this will be it. So in this case, we need our content type specifying. Headers are always quite important. In this case, we need to specify it as a multi-part mixed, and then we also need to indicate our boundary for our batch, like so. So let's try that again now. Okay, so we've got a slight issue on there. Let me just go back onto here and just have a look. It might be that we just need to add a space into here. Let's give that a go. Save. Let's send that off. Okay, we've got a slight issue with our header request on here, so let me just inspect this in a bit more detail. It might be we just need to make sure that things are aligned correctly. Sometimes change sets you have to be really precise and in terms of the structure, otherwise things will start to go a little bit wrong, unfortunately. Okay, that'll be it. We missed out the 2 dashes there. So let's save that, send. Okay, leave it with me. I'll be back in a few seconds once I've got it working. Okay, I'm back, and yeah, they can be a bit fiddly sometimes. So in this case, I had to add a white line in between both of those. There's also an issue where I forgot to paste in the Web API URL in there, and also just an error just now where it had the wrong version on the URL endpoint. So I'm hoping at this point when we fire this off now, it's going to complete successfully. So let's just hope for the best. No, again we get another error like so. Yes, so we need to change it there as well. So it needs to be version 9.2 there, version 9.2 there. Let me just check at the bottom. Okay, that's all looking good down there. Okay, try again. Another bad request. Still not doing it. Oh, I forgot to do that one. There we go. Right. Bad request again. So again, it's probably an issue with the first request, I believe. Unexpected end of output. No, it was fine reading the JSON reader. Okay. Right. I'll be back in a few minutes once I've figured this out. Okay, I think I've identified the issue. So there was a slash there and there. If we compare against what the Web API URL is, there's already a slash there. So effectively that double slash issue again. So hoping and praying now, if we fire this off, it will complete. No, bad request yet again. Okay, I'm going to change the... I'm going to hardcode the URL in just to see if that fixes it. So in this case, what we want is it will be the full Web API URL. So I'm just going to go into the environment just to get that information. So let me just replace that like so. I'll do the same again for the first one. Okay, let's give that a go. I'll also... oh, actually, no, there was a slash there as well, wasn't there? Maybe that's it. Okay, different error. So I think we're nearly there with it. Let me just replace. Let me just hard code this as well. Hard coding is probably going to get it back, sort it out. Okay, send again. Resource not found. Oh, it's duplicated. Yeah, it's duplicated. So let's get rid of the API/data. That's version 2. Let's get rid of that. Yep, so that's fine now. Let's do the same on the one above as well. Get rid of the duplicates. And again on that one, so let's just remove that. Like so. Do it again down here, like so. Bad request again. End of input node. Okay, so it's not the URL then. Give me a few moments. Okay, so I think got it working now. So this is what I meant earlier. So you really have to sort of fiddle about sometimes with these change set requests. So the issue in this case, I think, was down to the fact that there wasn't a space there. Needs to be a space there. Needs to be a space there as well between the particular requests. So if I now fire this off again now, hopefully we should get it completing. The only issue that we've got here is that it's completed the first 2 operations, but it's not been able to do the final one. Oh, hang on, something's happened here. Let me go back to here. Getting like a length is less than 0 error down here. I'm just going to try hard coding the URL on there as well, just to see if maybe that sorts it out. Oh, we've got the duplicate headers again. Let's just fix that and try again. Okay, so that worked in which case. So now we've got actually quite a few tasks returning now. Because we've been using the same batch ID, we effectively get all of the tasks back in the same batch. Actually, no, we're getting all of the tasks for the account. So there should be now around probably about 6 different tasks in here. If we were to refresh the data, we can see all the records are in there. If we were to just maybe do a bit of a clean slate again with it all, and we'd be able to sort of see that we're just getting 2 tasks back. But effectively, what we get back with our response is a breakdown of how each specific request performed. So in this case, we can see we've got 2 or 4s for each of the task creations, which indicates that it was able to go off and create those successfully. And then finally, we get a 200 OK plus our results back for what we've requested. So effectively, all of the tasks for this particular account. So batch operations, I say, are really useful for when you want to have those atomic transactions that fire off into the Dataverse. As I've mentioned, as hopefully this video has demonstrated, you do need to spend some time carefully constructing your change set requests. The ever so slightly wrong details on it, missing space and missing sort of character, you start to see all sorts of different errors. Just keep that in mind when you're working with change set requests. They are a powerful tool, but one that you may end up spending more time on it than you'd initially envisioned from the outset. So that's it for today's video, and for web APIs more generally. We're finished up with this topic now, so I hope this and the other videos regarding the web API have been useful. If you've not seen them already, please do check them out, or indeed any other video in the series so far. I hope you'll be finding the content useful as part of your revision preparation for the exam, or just for general learning. So what it leaves me to say is thank you again, and take care. Cheers.